Hi, everyone. It's Claire Wasserman here, founder, author, and host of Ladies Get Paid. And today's episode is one I think so many of you are going to see yourselves in. My guest came to me feeling stuck, 6 months into a new job, already burnt out, navigating office politics she never got a playbook for, and toggling between grinding hard and full blown career existential crisis. Sound familiar? In this coaching session, we get into the real stuff: how to stop leaking energy at work, how to navigate office politics without losing your empathy or your values, and why being a people pleaser is actually costing you more than you realize. We also talk about the sneaky way guilt shows up when you try to rest or do something creative, and why that's not a discipline problem. It's a much deeper pattern. By the end of this episode, you'll have concrete tools to help you respond instead of react, protect your energy, and start building what I call your secret project, the thing outside of work that actually makes everything else more bearable. And if you want to go deeper, I wrote up a full breakdown of the key frameworks and exercises from this session over on my Substack. We're talking the energy log, the North Star check in, the 15-minute rule, the creative toolkit exercise, all of it laid out so you can actually apply it to your own life this week. Link is in the show notes below. Okay, let's get into it. I am going to have you kick off our session today by reading what you sent in. And then after you read it, I would love for you to share what's coming up for you. What are you feeling?
All right, here goes. I started a new job about, I guess, 6 months ago now, and it's been just a struggle to find a path to success. So, the main account that I'm on is very demanding. It's also really inundated with office politics, which is very new for me to learn how to navigate. I'm a chronic people pleaser, and I really avoid conflict a lot. My core, I'm a creative. Like, my goal is just I want to make great work. I want to have fun doing what I do. But lately, I've been feeling really uninspired and just burnt out, honestly. And then there's also another factor, which is a lot of anxiety around AI does not help. And I also have a lot of friends that are out of work right now in the industry. So I keep telling myself, like, you should be grateful. Another part of this, too, is I'm fully remote, which is super convenient. It's great for me trying to work in work-life balance, but I just don't have that same connection to my coworkers that I used to. It's really hard to feel seen. And so I toggle between hustling really hard to find like the right balance, and maybe that lasts for a few days. And then sometimes I just have a full-blown career existential crisis. But at this point, like, I'm pretty deep in my career and I don't really know what other job I can do. So I'm a little stuck, to say the least.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. And I know this resonates with people watching or listening. How did you feel hearing your own words back to you?
It makes me feel like a mess. And I know that I'm not alone in that, but it's just like a lot of things like running around in my head. So it's not just because I've had 3 cups of coffee, but I'm always feeling like I'm operating in that kind of like sporadic,
Yeah.
reactive, like tackling problems in real time. I guess like chaotic is the word I feel. Not very settled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grounded. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
grounded,
exactly.
and playing more proactively and intentionally in your life as opposed
Mhm.
to being in reactive defense mode.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Before we dive into all of that, and I do have some organization that I'm going to be presenting you with, I have 3 areas we're going to focus on. I want to first circle back to something you said, which is path to success. How do you define path to success? How would you know that you're on it? What would that feel like?
I think for me, it's knowing that there is a role that I move into. Like, I always think about, I really enjoyed in college how I had all of my years planned out in front of me. And I knew exactly the steps I needed to take to move forward, to get to the next level class, or take the stepping stones towards a career move. And now it's like I thought I had a ladder of roles ahead of me, but there's just so many more rungs on that ladder than I realized working at a really big organization. And it's also, I think part of me is trying to define what success looks like. In all transparency, I feel like I'm a little underpaid. Like, I am not feeling I'm not winning awards right now. Like, I'm not feeling very creatively fulfilled And a big part of that, I think, is due to the work that I'm dealing with and a lot of the, I don't know, like the personal relationships to navigate in that space. That's kind of like a very roundabout answer, but I think to me, success looks like feeling really confident in the work I do, feeling like I'm valued in the work I'm doing, and that I'm like constantly growing and moving forward versus like surfing and hoping that I don't crash constantly.
Wow, this was a beautiful statement. I feel chills right now. I'm going to restate it to you. Feeling confident, feeling valued, feeling like I'm growing, moving.
Yeah.
These are your North Stars, okay? And come back to this when you do a weekly self-reflection, because
Mhm.
I really believe in always checking in every week
Yeah.
back with these North Stars of how you want to feel, and then seeing what actions you can take that are wholly within your control that would foster this,
Mhm.
and at least take solace in the fact that you're working on it. It might not be there yet, but there's something that you did. Okay.
Yeah.
No matter how small. The first thing I want to focus on here today with you is what I call patching the boat. And that means looking at the various buckets in your life, or we'll just focus on your job right now. Where are you leaking energy? So I want to start with what's most urgent and tangible for you. So things that are really draining you, let's say daily. So that could be the office politics, the people pleasing, the hustle and crash cycle, the remote isolation. We
Mhm.
were doing longer term coaching, which I'm hoping that I can with you, is we would actually tackle each one of these in serious depth. Like we
Yeah.
would go hardcore into office politics, people pleasing, remote isolation, etc. For the purposes of this coaching session today, given that it's more podcast style, what do you feel is most pressing? If we could patch that boat, you would get some relief that would free you up to do all the other things I want to coach you through today.
Okay, yeah, that's like a very good question. Because for me, like, I'm not unfamiliar with like creative hustle. Like, for example, like this job, I've been working a lot more hours, like weekends and stuff, but I've done that before. Like, I know what that is, and that's what you sign up for sometimes in this industry. I think for me, one of the biggest things is like figuring out how to navigate the office politics and like those interpersonal relationships there because I never got training on that and I don't think it's like
No
hard
one
to
does. No one does.
yeah. And it's interesting too because it just makes me think about, I don't know, when I see people more senior than me and I'm like, did they have, what did they have to lose or something to get as high up? Did they have to be, I don't know if I can swear, but do they have to be like assholes to get ahead?
Mhm.
Like disregard people's feelings? Like I feel like I'm always trying to make an effort to be on everyone's good graces. And part of it is because I believe a lot in being a kind person, but the other part is it is very exhausting when it feels futile and I'm putting a lot of energy into making sure everyone feels, I don't know, like happy with me. That's the people pleaser side
Yeah.
that's coming out, I think.
Yep.
But also trying to keep the peace a little bit too. It really makes me feel, for lack of a better word, like icky when I'm hearing my boss badmouth another employee or something like that, or siloing people from conversations because of something that feels above my pay grade in terms of understanding. And do I need to just learn how to navigate this in order to succeed in this career? Like, I do see myself staying at this agency in theory. I would like to learn how to it, but I don't want to lose my empathy in the process. And it's just hard to decipher how much of this is normal and super common, and I just haven't flown this close to the sun before, or how much of it is, oh no, this is like actually toxic and not normal. So I think it's like that part is very draining for me. And it's difficult because I don't have like kids or anything when I come home, but I feel like I have nothing socially left in me to offer other people. Like, one, it's like I don't do weekday stuff because I'm usually working, but also it's, do I even want to interact with another human? Probably not. So that's like a hard part for me because I do feel like a little extroverted. And so it's hard to find that be such a draining sensation.
Yeah. There's a lot to unravel here. So I'm going to
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, never apologize. This is all really fruitful stuff, and we're going to spend some time on it here. I'll rephrase just to confirm what you're asking effectively. Is there a way to navigate office politics without compromising your values.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, how much is too much? Like, you have a high tolerance for this, but should you have to? And quote, what's normal, which is such a personal question you have to ask yourself.
Yeah.
But let's talk about your values for a second. The values question is a little bit tricky because it's tied up in people pleasing. Say you
Mhm.
want to keep the peace, which is a sounds like a wonderful thing, but there's a
Yeah.
shadow side to it. There's a positive and a negative. There's always two sides to the same coin. So I would love, maybe instead of making people happy or orienting towards people's happiness, which you can't control ultimately,
Yeah.
keeping the peace, which I want to dig into that a little bit further. I would love us to find something that's adjacent to these things that are more within your control
Yeah.
and require less energy from you to do.
Mhm.
So it might be easier if we dig into a specific scenario, by the way.
Yeah.
If there's a recent time where this really flared up, it was emblematic of whatever was happening, shit show going on, and you were dealing with all these moving parts and pieces and people. Like, tell me about a time where you sought to keep the peace and it maybe was at the expense of yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I have one like specific recent example where it's like a little bit of an evolution from when I originally wrote in, which is that like this account, which has been very consuming, I'm moving onto a different account next month, which is, and then they're taking this account, which has been so like charged and challenging, but my baby, I've put so much work into it, and it's going to be staffed entirely with more senior people. And the fact that all this decision making was made without even my manager knowing. So it even goes above her pay grade. And I felt very caught off guard and left out of the process. And one of the difficulties is that my creative partner and I, we are still on the hook to finish the rest of this month putting as much of us, our heart into this work as possible, even though ultimately we don't get to own it. So I think it's like we're also trying to make sure we're in everyone's good graces. And so it's a lot of, I don't know, it's a lot of effort. I'm like digging, it's difficult because I'm digging deep for the motivation to put in as much work into that as I can, knowing that I have a lot of passion because I've seen this project all the way through and all the phases and the hard times and the times that there was light at the end of the tunnel. But just the fact that there was a lot of decisions made and I just kind of had to sit on a lot of calls and like smile and nod. I don't feel like I have a space to like advocate for myself there or to even say where I would like to go instead. Like they just were like, okay, you're gonna go help out on this thing instead. And I have to be like, reframe it and be like, great, a new challenge, like something like that, even though it's not something I want to work on, even though it's like we have the experience to see this work through to I don't know. I've been on a couple calls recently with people I don't work with directly every day, and they sometimes are nice enough, but talk to me like I'm much more junior than I am,
Okay.
not like someone who's worked on this for over 10 years or been in the industry for over 10 years. And that's challenging, like not being seen, but also wanting to appease them and seem that I'm a good little hard worker. Yeah, that was,
What do you want out of in this situation? Because you brought it up for a reason.
yeah,
Would you like it to go? How can it be better for you?
that's such a good question. I think it's difficult. I feel like I want to, I think the best way, okay.
And by the way, a lot of times we are more familiar with what we don't want than what we do.
Yeah, yeah,
We don't like how we're being treated. We're exhausted.
yeah,
Didn't like a certain comment. A reason we don't quite know how to fix it is because we haven't identified what are we fixing it towards.
exactly.
Kind of the point of that North Star that you beautifully articulated earlier of you want to feel confident, valued, and like you're growing. So
Yeah,
to use that as the filter in this scenario in which an account was effectively taken away from you or you gave more detail into it, how can you still feel confident, still feel valued, still feel like you're growing in this shitty situation?
Yeah, exactly. For me, I think what I want from like the work I do is to feel creatively fulfilled in it. That's always been important, but that the hard work I'm doing is paid off. Like it is coming to like leading somewhere where it feels like I can own it and be proud of it and be recognized for it. And then I'm also really craving, I suppose, like just overall transparency in like the process and the roles. If there is a problem with something, I want to talk things out. Like I love like working directly with people, and sometimes an email or a Teams message comes off as really passive aggressive. I'm someone who I overthink a lot of like even my punctuation and whatnot. So when I see messages and I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like they're mad at me. And maybe they're not. Maybe they're just busy. But I think I would like to work in a space where we can communicate like really openly with each other and trust each other, know like where our strengths are and weaknesses, but like work together as like a more, I don't know, just like a more cohesive team that helps make that work better and can like recognize each other when we're like working hard. Because yeah, putting in the hustle and whatnot, it's like we've gotten definitely some like shout outs here and there, but it's difficult too because I do feel like I'd like to get to a place where the next time I'm having that review, I can advocate for a raise and like point to things I've done. But
Mhm.
because this has been such a complicated process and I don't feel like I'm succeeding through it, it's like it's hard to come out of that and then be like, I deserve more money. I think that's something I'm struggling with. I'm hoping to just with an ease of workflow that helps make a work-life balance. I know that to me just feels like a myth right now in general, but just a little bit more breathing room, both in time but also in headspace, what I'm thinking.
I think when you're going into a scenario that's starting to feel like it's veering you off course from that North Star, so
Mhm.
whether they take the account away or you get an email from
Yeah.
somebody or you're like, okay, this is not what I want. I want you to pause and ask yourself, what do I want here? What do I want here? The reason why that's very important for you in particular to ask that is because if you were a people pleaser, that means
Yeah.
you are orienting away from yourself.
Mm.
And that's a losing game
Yeah.
because we can't control other people and we're operating off of assumptions. To your point
Yeah.
of maybe they're
Yeah.
mad at me, maybe they're not. No wonder you're going to overthink it because you simply don't know. And your brain is going to continue to try to problem solve. So
Yes.
instead, let's orient towards you. Okay. We're
Yeah.
still going to act within your values of empathy
Mm.
and mutual respect and clarity and all the things. But first, it's what do I want out of this interaction? And most likely, the response you're going to give yourself will be about something you can't control.
Yeah.
Like, I want them to treat me with more respect. Okay. That, fingers crossed, that happens. We can't control that. So, how can I, and by the way, if it's helpful to think of yourself not as yourself anymore and you're coaching
Mhm.
someone else, so imagining you're a little mentor or mentee, like what is the Ira version, like mentor mentee version of you who's just coming to work, and you coach this little version of you and you say, all right, you want to be respected. How do you command respect? What
Mhm.
kind of a person would get respect? And usually it's somebody who's very clear
Mm.
about what the expectations are for this project or what the expectations of communication are.
Yeah.
Somebody who offers respect to others first. So, commenting something that you noticed about the other person, making it specific to them so that the other person feels recognized, respecting their time,
Yeah.
being really concise. So just put in some thought, like slow things down for you. I know we're in a hustle culture. Tons of
Mm.
emails are coming at you. Move fast, 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 but slow down to speed up. So just
Yeah.
really in every interaction, it's what do I want out of this? And how can I put myself forward in a way that I know that whatever happens, whatever reaction, I don't regret how I showed up here.
Yeah.
And then you'll be able to separate a little bit more of how much of this is my participation, my setting myself up to not be valued. And I'm not blaming you, by the way. Like you're operating within systemic inequities. in an industry of advertising that it's client oriented, which is really hard for people pleasers.
Yeah.
Like you're not set up to succeed, so to speak.
Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
set up to burn out. You're set up to burn out. And I think the only way you're not going to burn out is if you slow the fuck down and be very clear about the building blocks of what is required for you to get what you need out of this job. It also
Mm.
might mean mitigating your expectations a little bit.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
you might not be creatively fulfilled here.
Yeah.
That's okay because they're paying you, right?
Mm.
And you can look at that payment as an investment in a creative practice outside of work, which of course
Yeah.
you're going to say, I don't have time and energy for it, which is why we are trying to patch the boat first.
Yeah.
Because I think the ultimate goal here is to give you some more capacity or any capacity outside of work to pursue things that are meaningful to you, like your friendships. I know
Mm.
you wanted to talk about maybe an MFA or creative writing. Like you have so much more to give than what you're giving to this company. So we've got to protect your energy here. And again, the first step is like, where are we just giving away your energy?
Yeah.
And one example might be, I mean, you tell me if this resonates, but taking it personally when
Yeah.
things happen, like when accounts are taken away or you're not recognized in a meeting, you're going to say to yourself, that hurts. I'm going to
Mm.
take it personally for 15 minutes because I'm setting an alarm. And then after 15 minutes, this is business, baby. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we're all here for the bottom line. Your
Yeah.
bottom line, the business's bottom line. And your values, you have lots of things you would like to show up as at work. It may not be possible. So at the end of the day, I think it's about respect. I'm going to use that word again. You feel respected and let's just say recognized.
Yeah.
And the only way someone's going to recognize you is if you are making it clear that they can find you and recognize you. Like they don't know what to recognize you for, maybe. Are they recognizing you for the person who's the workhorse, who does all the things? Do they know what it is that you bring to these
Yeah.
accounts? What do you stand for? Who are you? What's your process? I hate to use the word personal brand, but when I think of you, what do I think of? And make that as easy as possible for people to know about you. And we can get more
Yeah.
specific into how to do that. But you and so many women end up, it's the overworking. It's like you think that just by the mere work ethic, you will be recognized.
Yeah, exactly.
And it doesn't fucking happen. In
Yeah.
fact, you get taken for granted. So tell me what's resonating from that and where you have questions, because no, I didn't get too specific into the how part of doing it, but I want to focus where you feel it would be most helpful for you.
No, absolutely. No, I like this is I'm picking up so much of this. I think for me, just the idea of allowing yourself to feel a certain way about things, but knowing ultimately what that bottom line is. What you just were talking about with 15 minutes. Like I am the person who does take things personally, and I will think about that at midnight. I will lie in bed and think about how I could have phrased something better. But the idea of thinking of it as you cannot control what another person, how they feel about, hang on, what am I trying to say here? You can't control what they're doing, but like I can control how I react to it, I
Mhm.
suppose.
Mhm.
That's like what I'm,
I actually want to amend that because there's a
yes.
really important difference here. You actually cannot control how you react, but you can
Mhm.
control how you respond. So that's where the 15 minutes is just your pure emotional reaction,
Yeah.
where you
Okay.
are like, fuck that person or fuck
Mhm.
me. I shouldn't have said that. I really regret it. I'm so mad at myself. Let the inner critic out.
Yeah.
That's because if you deny it, you're just suppressing emotions and they're going to come up anyway. But the point is, you got to let them out so that you can
Yeah.
let them go.
Yeah.
And then you put your thinking brain back on and you go, all right, teachable moment here for me, which by the way, if one of your values is growing and
Yeah.
moving, certainly are, right? And you're like, okay, this situation, I am learning how to curb my overthinking, or I'm learning how to write emails in a bit of a different way so I don't regret them, or I'm
Yeah.
learning how to dialogue with myself when I do regret how I wrote that email because I'm not a perfect person. Really good exercise is if you are overthinking, or I'll just say overfeeling, like where you feel
Mhm.
the emotions are out matching the situation. Think of a gas tank or think of a 1 through 10 line and just ask yourself how much do you want to invest in this? Like do you want to
Mm.
give it a 3? Do you want to give it an 8?
Yeah.
Give it an 8 for that 15 minutes, but
Yeah.
visualize your energy and then also think about how much they're paying you. And if you want
Yeah.
to put your salary, your annual salary into how many hours you work, go find your hourly rate. All right. Go find your, I think people who are paid a lot of money should definitely do this. I know you're not, you feel underpaid, but I just want to be clear like anyone who maybe thinks they're being compensated highly,
Yeah.
I really want you to figure out what is your hourly rate. And when you are having these experiences of agita or energy outwards, which by the way,
Mhm.
they may be very much like pulling that energy out of you, but you are also
Yeah.
giving them the energy to
Yeah.
pull. You just say, all right, if my hourly rate is $8, yeah, maybe I'll spend $8 on this. Maybe you think, shit, my hourly is 8. These people are not worth my energy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm only being paid $8 to work here an hour. No thanks.
Mhm.
You trying to counsel yourself out of this is probably not going to work. Having a visualization in that way and putting it into mathematical terms,
Yeah.
you find will just stop the spiral right there.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not saying to suppress the feelings
Yeah.
that have them and then put them in their place.
Yeah.
Um,
That I like that a lot. Like, I think that's a really good way to think about it. Because for me, it's really interesting. I feel like sometimes when I talk to people who don't work in this industry and I'm explaining a problem I'm going through, and it's like, I feel like I'm losing hair and it's for like a 6 second social spot. And then you're like, what am I doing? Like, this is not worth, I haven't done the math yet, but like, this is not worth $75 an hour. Especially if it's like multiple hours of my time just thinking about this. And I don't know. It's important, like I think I do find a lot of value in what I do, but being realistic about the emotional investment, that really hit for me.
and then you
Yeah.
say, okay, all right, in practical terms, they need me to respond or jump in, or so you'll
Yeah.
take a beat and you'll be like, okay, what is a non negotiable here on their end? I literally have to do this, otherwise, I'll
Yes.
be fired. Okay. But what is a negotiable? What can I do a little bit differently this time? Maybe you'll be scared to do it, which could be,
Mhm.
I'll get to this tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or I noticed we're doing a lot of back and forth by email. I made a spreadsheet with the deliverables. I know you have questions on them. There's a column for
Mhm.
status. Check the spreadsheet. And if you have any
Yeah.
questions, write me. So always be thinking like, how can I make this a more easeful interaction or
Yeah.
something that protects my energy? Can we do this differently? Can I do this differently?
Yeah.
Excuse me. And then hopefully it becomes I do this differently, we do this differently.
Mhm.
And I'm a huge fan at the end of every day, have an energy log of like, where did I lose energy? Where did I gain energy? And for where did I lose energy? What was within my control? What was within my ability to impact? And what was absolutely, I literally could not do anything about?
Yeah.
And just try something new the next day.
Yeah.
And you will feel more energy in just the trying part
Yeah.
because that is progress. So
Mm.
even if the situation isn't changing, you're changing. And that kind of growth, A, is great, but also speaks to what you said is one of your values in the beginning. I do want to, I really want to talk about your friends who are unemployed for a second.
Yeah.
And this feeling of gratefulness, at
Yeah.
least I have a job, or the sneaking feelings of guilt, or hey, it's just advertising. This isn't like brain surgery, or
Yeah.
these ways that we minimize our experience
Mhm.
is really detrimental. And it demonstrates to me, and by the way, this is very common, it demonstrates to me that you have a binary way of looking at things. You're either
Yeah.
grateful or not grateful. Is it possible that your situation sucks and so does theirs? They're
Mm.
just different hards. These are
Yeah.
all just different hards. You don't have the freedom to be the creative being that you are. Like you have been put into the box of capitalism and you're
Yeah.
trying to make a living and there's a lot of pressure and your healthcare is tied to your keeping your job and it's
No,
tenuous and
seriously.
there's enormous amounts of pressure on you here. Okay? And there's enormous amounts of pressure on them too. At the same time, they also maybe have more freedom right now. They can be a little more intentional because they're
Mhm.
not dealing with all the crap their boss is giving them.
Yeah.
Just have to deal with all the crap they're giving themselves, which is again just a different kind of hard. So
Yeah.
What might be a mantra or something you could say to yourself in those moments of, oh, self-shame, guilt, I should just be grateful. If you even want to recall a time that you recently did that to yourself, what is another way we could speak to ourselves here that honors your experience and theirs?
Hmm. Yeah, I think, I don't know what you said about how there's just different kinds of hard. Like, I'm like a copywriter. I'm like a words person. I can't think of a more eloquent way to phrase that off the top of my head, but that is how I feel. Like, we're all just trying our best, I guess. That sounds like it should be more impactful than that. But it's interesting because I was just thinking about what you were saying earlier about journaling about like energy and things like that. I am no stranger to a gratitude journal, but it gets hard when yes, I'm grateful to have a roof over my head and all this stuff. And then like just feeling like in the scope of, I don't know, it gets harder to keep up with, I guess, for me personally.
My issue with gratitude journals is it trains a lot of us to deny the suffering that is also out because
Hmm.
we think it has to be either or. All right, I'm
Yeah.
grateful for my health. And
Yeah.
by the way, I feel this acutely because I have a son who has a medical condition. He's fine now, technically.
Yeah.
And so we're incredibly grateful. And also, there's other shit happening in our life that sucks right now.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's not him on life support or life or death, but why does it have to be life or death for us to feel grateful? Like, we should have higher standards too for
Yeah.
for our happiness. And so I do think whether you're putting it on a post-it note or on your phone, the phrase like different kinds of hards
Yeah.
or just something that is going to resonate with you, just
Mm.
be a reminder that you're training yourself to get out of the either or thinking. Either
Yeah.
I'm grateful or I'm not. Either it's easier for me or harder for them, or no, it's all hard for everybody.
Yeah.
And you've got some awesome things going on. You also have some less than awesome things happening here too. And I think it'd be a great practice to be like, I'm grateful for whatever. Make sure you feel it in your body. If you're just intellectually saying, I'm grateful for it's not working, you have to find what does gratitude in your body feel like? And maybe it's, I'm just grateful for the sun on my face right
Yeah.
now. And you can actually feel that. And you might also add, I acknowledge and then acknowledge something that's hard for you. And there's nothing to be done about it. There is, because that's why I'm coaching you. But like in that moment, it's you being able to hold two different things at once, something you're grateful
Hmm.
for and an acknowledgement of something you wish were different.
Yeah.
And know that's actually doing an incredible amount of healing for you in that training your brain to be able to hold two different things at once.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to find yourself being way more compassionate to yourself in general. Yeah, almost stop looking at the bright side. Yeah, let's like really look at the hard shit here, and
Yeah.
but see the small ways that we can make progress within the hard shit. And
Yeah.
grateful for ourselves, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that I'm showing up to do this work. I'm grateful
Hmm.
that in your case, like being vulnerable and putting yourself out there like this, that
Hmm.
counts. That's huge. Yeah, maybe let's not be grateful for anyone else. Let's get fucking selfish here. Back to the like, what do I want in this?
Yeah.
It's don't be grateful for your health. Don't be grateful for a roof over your head. Like bottom of the barrel shit. It's I'm grateful that I stood my ground today, or I'm grateful that I showed up to the page. I'm grateful that I was exhausted, but I still texted my friend to see how she was doing. And find the things you're
Yeah.
grateful for about yourself. How about that?
Yeah. I love that. And I feel like a lot of that feeds me a lot too. Like, I don't know, when I do have space to hit up a friend, call my mom, like things like that, which I let fall on the back burner, I always feel better coming out of those interactions. So I feel like that's something that's really important to keep in mind.
Yeah, I mean that
Love
this
that.
actually ties in really nicely to the isolation you've been feeling. The upside of
Yeah.
remote work is we've got some flexibility, and I thought you phrased it really well of seemingly work-life balance. That's
Yeah.
totally correct, seemingly. What we're craving here is human connection because you are human. And so I would just really make a list of, again, what you don't want and what's not working
Yeah.
for you. But
Hmm.
what does connection feel like? And how can it be achieved in the most micro of ways? And then
Yeah.
how do you do that consistently? And in order to do it consistently, how do you make it as easeful as possible to follow through on? And so maybe make a practice of every morning when you're, I don't know, putting on your coffee pot.
Yeah.
You're texting a friend,
Yeah.
and or maybe you're bringing friendships to the next level here. You're going beyond surface conversations and you're sharing more stuff with them
Mhm.
or asking them, hey, I know you went through a hard thing, like how are you doing,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Or the IRL part, like not saying you have to join a, I don't know, soccer league here, but if you're craving in-person stuff, I know energetically it takes a lot to show up for. So maybe the cadence is it's just once a month.
Yeah. That feels like a lot more manageable. I think I could do that and it
Yeah.
would feel good.
Because anybody who thinks in binary oftentimes also thinks in all or nothing. So it's
Yeah.
to be really connecting with people or really seeing people or being really
Mhm.
creative or the opposite. And
Yeah.
right now we're looking for bits and pieces of everything
Yeah.
and then expanding your capacity to carry it.
Yeah.
Speaking of expanding your capacity to carry it. Let's assume you've done a couple of weeks of this sort of energy log. You're showing up a little bit differently at work. You're being very clear about kind of the bottom line for you. What does it mean for you to get sort of respect and value? AKA, how are you putting yourself out there in that way? And you're feeling like, okay, I have maybe 30 minutes on a Saturday to put towards a creative project or to explore this MFA. I want you to tell me a little bit
Mhm.
more in an ideal world what that would look like.
Yeah, I think so. Last year, I took this creative, like a short fiction writing workshop, and it just lit a fire in me that I hadn't felt in a long time. And I just wanted to write way more. And that's like why I got into this business is me trying to put that skill and make money off of it. Like in my heart, wanting to be maybe a struggling artist, but knowing realistically, I need health insurance, as we talked about earlier. But there was like something there where I loved the way that felt. I loved the way it energized me. And afterwards, I was thinking, I don't personally like, I never really thought about pursuing like more education, but it made me want to do something like that. And it's interesting because I built like a habit for a while where I was carving time to spend on writing and not like judging myself for that practice either, just like losing myself in it, having fun, doing it for me and not for like someone to give me constructive criticism on all the time. And then life happened and I got busy and I was traveling and I just let it fall apart. But there was like a time too where I was keeping in touch with some of the like peers that I had in that workshop and we were all age ranges and demographics. And then it was we met like once a month and then we stopped meeting and then no one really brought it up again because I think we all felt guilty that we let it fall apart. And I'm sure that happens all the time. But I do miss that side, like nurturing that part of myself. And I would love in like a ideal world to be able to have find that space in my life to nurture the writing that I really want to do. And so maybe this is a job that I can put enough like work ethic into and feel like I'm doing a good job, but where I'm not getting creative fulfillment there, like finding that outside of work, I think that would be such a big goal for me and being able to sustain that too and not just have it be like I do this for a month and it feels great and then I don't pick up another pen for a year or something.
Yeah.
So that's something that's yeah.
So it's a chicken and the egg problem here, right? Because
Yeah.
you know that having a creative practice outside of work will make you happier overall,
Mm.
but your job is so energetically draining for you. You don't have the time or sorry, your job is taking up so much of you that you have
Yeah.
left to give to the creative practice, even though the creative practice would give you life. So
Yes.
I actually do need you to commit to a micro practice, and we'll
Mhm.
talk about maybe like a creative toolkit,
Yeah.
a bunch of different things that you could do, some very short period thing, like 20 minutes of reading a book that really inspired
Yeah.
me, kind of thing, where you are maybe not sitting down to do the work that you are aspiring to do, but at least you're scratching the itch, so to speak, or
Yeah.
you're honoring your commitment to the commitment. And you must start this now because this will actually help you preserve your energy at work. And let me tell you why. I've mentioned this, I think, on previous podcasts before. I call it the secret project. When you have something else going on outside of work, what happens at work can oftentimes not hit you as hard.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I have a secret project. I don't know, not that you feel devious, but you're like, you think you're like devaluing me here at work, but you don't even realize that I blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I've got other things going on. It always makes me think of drag queens, like imagining somebody is like going
Yeah.
corporate, but no one knows that they're actually a drag queen. Like, I would imagine showing up in the corporate office on one hand could be quite exhausting, right? Like I have to be these
Mhm.
two different people, or it's actually really liberating. You get to be in work mode. It's a costume you put on, your
Yep.
capitalism costume, and then you get home, you take off that costume and you put on your drag queen costume or
Yeah.
creative writing. You're like this MFA student or create you write fiction or have a different persona. And I don't know, it allows you to have a beginning, middle, and end to that experience
Yeah.
for both. And I have personally found that to be the answer to doing all the things I've done in my career is I always had a thing going on outside of work. It
Mhm.
also allowed me to continue to sort of flex and carve out and understand my identity because at work there was only so much they were allowing me to do. Like
Yeah.
I couldn't evolve as quickly as I wanted to evolve within the constraints of work. So
Mhm.
now I had an outlet where I got to be much more experimental in what I wanted to do and skills I wanted to grow. So again, we did start today with patching the energy, patching the boat. That's your number one first step. But a very quick second step is making a list here with me, and we'll come up with a couple of things. What are ways in which you can nourish yourself creatively and maybe even estimated time to it?
Yeah.
There's the ideal, there's the less than ideal, and there's like super realistic. And then looking at your calendar and saying, where am I putting this and how am I
Mhm.
protecting it? So, off of that, what's coming up for you? What can you think of as your creative or nourishing toolkit?
I love that. I think for me, like even just a half an hour, I think on a weekend is nice, like not having a time obligation, but to write and not having any sort of like restrictions placed in that. That feels really like a nurturing step for me. And also I do try, it's so funny. I've been trying to read more and I typically do read in the evening, but it's really surprising to me how much time I spend on my phone. Where I'm like, when you break down the numbers, and I was like, I just recently got like a New Yorker subscription, and there's already three that are on my bedside table. And I was like, I can't get through this. It's February, and they already sent me three, and they're gonna probably send me another one.
I
But I was
know.
like,
That's
maybe
why I
if I can.
canceled. I said it was too much. And then it just made me feel guilty. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But I was thinking, I was like, okay, if I just like at least set aside some time where like I'm just going to read or I'm just going to write, because I do find that reading makes me want to write. So that's like a nice stepping stone there because it's still like a leisure activity. It's like a nice, I don't know. It's a way more calming, I would say, than doom scrolling, personally. I just have to remember that a bit.
That the doom scrolling goes into patching the boat. So what are
Yeah.
the like, that one's a little tricky because you might look at it as an energy booster too, which it is
Yeah.
in the first few minutes, and then it's
Yeah.
so I
Okay.
do think I'm actually a fan of using, I don't know, watching Bravo, having a cupcake, and going on
Yep.
social media within reason. Because you
Yeah.
do need to like just be trash for a second. But
Yes.
it speaks to my 15 minutes, 15-minute freak out and then time out, the 15-minute
Hmm.
time out, and then you're like back to business. Maybe
Yeah.
the same thing, 15 minutes of doom scrolling. Beep, alarm goes off. Great. Now we're going in
Yeah.
reading the New Yorker. I think another thing that would be wonderful for you, remind me, do you live in New York?
I live in Boston, actually,
You live in
Boston area.
Boston. How do you commute? Do you take the T?
I just work from home now, so
Oh
that's
shit,
like
you
part
work
of
from
it.
home.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I do try to do like a morning walk every morning, mainly to feel like we said earlier, like the sun on my face because that is important, especially in winter up here. So,
Yes, I know my
yeah.
brother lives in Boston. Yeah, and I went to
Yeah.
school there. So I would love for you to maybe try writing sprints on your walk.
Oh,
So my
fun.
suggestion is
Yeah.
always to take a thing that you're already doing and then bundle it.
Yeah.
This is not revolutionary. This comes from James Clear, Atomic Habits. So when you're doing laundry or when you're going for your walk or when I mentioned making your coffee in the morning, you can think about what during that time would allow me to tap back into my creative self or to
Mhm.
have a nourishing practice and then do it. And then
Yeah.
for a week, check in like, how did that go for you? And then you may find yourself gaining even more motivation to write. so that when you do sit down for 30 minutes and really keep it contained at first, don't
Yeah.
let yourself do too much of this. You're going to let it rip. It's going to flow so much more because all week you've been like revving up to do it.
Mm.
You've also proven before that you can have a consistent practice and you then let it go. And I'm the same way. And every creative person I know also goes in and out of seasons like this. I just don't want you to commit too much too soon because then you're falling back into that all or nothing trap.
Yeah.
And this is about integrating the
Yeah.
different parts of yourself. And yeah. So I would say, yeah, make that toolkit of what creatively nourishes you and what could be done in the smallest of ways. Then when you look at your calendar, how can you do them during activities you already have to do
Yeah.
anyway? Or maybe they're attached to it. So not while you're doing laundry, but maybe it's right after the laundry. And then the thing you want to ask yourself is what are all of the excuses I'm going to give myself to not
Mhm.
do this? And how do I anticipate working through slash with it? So
Mm.
not just denying it, buck up, have more discipline. You tell me what are some of your excuses and let's talk about it right now.
Yeah, I think it's like when I have time outside, I'm like a productivity junkie. So it's like I have a hard time resting, and reading or writing feels it's a practice, but it feels like I have to be stationary for it. Whereas I should be cleaning up or putting away that thing that I haven't done for a while, or I still haven't done my taxes. Got something in the back of my head. There's just I feel like I have to like check off a bunch of stuff off my checklist in order to earn the
Mm.
right to do something nice for myself, whether even if it's writing or something that is like a more of a habit.
I'm so glad you shared that with me because it is A, resonant for myself, but B, so common, so
Yeah.
common. I want to do a couple things with you. I want to share something you can do in the moment. You are, whether it's laying down to take a nap or opening up your laptop to do some creative writing or reading
Mhm.
a fiction book or whatever, anything that feels to you, quote, self-indulgent. I can give you some tools and tips on what to do in the moment, but I also want to go into the underlying fear behind this behavior, behind this, I don't deserve nice things unless I have earned it, which you tell me, does that resonate? That sentence, I
Yes.
don't deserve nice
Yeah,
things, I've earned it. Okay.
absolutely.
Let's start with what you could do in the moment, and then we can go into the deeper stuff. So, in the moment, acknowledge that there is going to be a period of discomfort when you try to do something outside of your definition of success. So, right now, your definition of success is being really productive, and that's fulfilled by cleaning the house or being an adult in
Mm.
all the ways you define it, right? So, when you do something that's not within that defined definition, when you do something that's not within that definition of success, anticipate that you're going to have resistance. Don't try to fight the resistance and don't also indulge the resistance. Meaning, for me, when I lay down to take a nap, I'm immediately thinking about my to do list,
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
I have to get done. And instead of going, shit, what's wrong with me? Oh, Claire, you always do this. That's indulging it. So I say to myself, this too shall pass. This is a normal reaction when I am operating under the assumption of definition of success is productivity. Of course, when I lay down, I'm going to fight that. Breathe. Okay. And then I say, all right, even just trying is helping. So I may not end up falling asleep on the nap, but I am resting my body and resting my eyes. I'm not looking at a screen. I'm also
Yeah.
expanding my capacity to sit with the discomfort of trying something new. These are all great things. So it's like, even if I don't get the full nap, or in your case, maybe the writing that you want to get done, the
Yeah.
trying does count. Also, that you need to think of your to do list. It's going to be loud for a little bit, and then actually it may get quieter. So
Mhm.
watch it with as best as you can in objectivity, seeing even if the intensity of the emotion peaks at 90 seconds. So start looking at it almost like a scientist or just very observationally.
Yeah.
The next thing you could do is ask yourself, where did this voice come from? Who gifted me this pile of shit? So if the phrase is, I should be working and not resting, all right, Where did I learn this? Where did it come from? Of course, society in general, but if you could try to personify it, so maybe there is a specific person in your life that you're like, yeah, this was my mom telling me I wasn't disciplined.
Yeah.
That's my case. So I could attribute it to her. Or if you want to even personify society, so imagining society literally as a person, and then do your best to muster incredible compassion for them because the reason that they gave you this burden was because they were carrying it themselves. And it may be easier for you to have compassion for someone else before it is easy for you to have compassion for yourself. It may be easier for you to imagine they deserve nice things before you can think of I deserve nice things. So if you want to send a lot of compassion to whoever gave you this thing, and then see if that compassion, if you can channel it in your body. Again, I talked about this before with gratitude. It's not just
Mhm.
thinking gratitude or thinking compassion, but where does gratitude and compassion sit in my body? However, you're feeling that way, sending it towards another person, see if you can give 5% of it to yourself.
Yeah.
And that will soften the voice. And that is the goal here. It is not to necessarily eradicate that voice that's telling you get up and work, but it is to make it a little bit quieter, make it a little bit easier for you to dialogue with it, see a new way, try a new way. But I do want to get to the heart of the fear. Before I dive into that, I'll pause here and just ask if you have any questions or what's resonating or not with you.
No, that speaks a lot to me. Just I don't know, like even just the act of trying to rest like still counts. Like sometimes I feel I don't know, or if I'm doing an activity and I feel like I didn't have an output, like that's bad. Even if it is a nap, like I feel like I really struggle with napping because I do just lie there a lot. But knowing that there's like restoration still happening in its own way is so important. So that's so major for me, I think, in general. And I feel like that voice, it feels like a mix. Like I feel like I do pick up a lot of it, especially spending more time at home. Like my mom was like a stay-at-home mom growing up, even though she was an artist on the side, and she, I'm sure, had the similar struggle with trying to carve out space for that. But I feel very, oh my gosh, like my house is in order or something, which is crazy. I live in an apartment. Like we don't have people over that often. Like it shouldn't be such a chaotic thing that's going on to me. So I feel like part of it though is comparing against others. So that does feel societal in a way. Like if I'm not like tidying up or something, or if I'm just like sitting on the couch and then there's some kind of disarray around, I do feel negatively indulgent. I'm like, what am I doing? Even though I feel like sometimes I might need to feed more of myself to have the motivation to tidy up to the extent that needs to be done and that kind of thing.
You could also honor that part of you that does want you to tidy and say,
Yeah.
again, 15 minutes, put timers
Yeah.
stuff. So it's
Yeah.
not that you're ignoring any one part or need that you
Mhm.
have, but it's just putting it in its place and being able to
Yeah.
hold it within the entirety of everything else that you need to do in your.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about if you did indulge. So if you
Mhm.
did nap, if you did the creative practice, what are you afraid will happen? So let's start there and then we'll dig in underneath.
That's such a good question. I think part of me feels like time in general is so, I'm always trying to get more of it and it's so finite. And that I'm just trying to cram so much in my day that if I take time to do things that aren't productive, then that's going to disadvantage me in the like tomorrow or something like that. It's weird. I guess in general, there's nothing that bad that would happen.
No,
Like if
there,
I,
there is
yeah,
something. So on its surface, there's nothing
yeah,
bad, but your nervous system has been trained to view
yeah,
something here as a threat, and your
hmm,
biological wiring, it's never oriented towards thriving. It's simply
yeah,
towards surviving.
yeah,
So I do want to get to what are we actually worried here? So is the sentence, I'm afraid I'm running out of time, or I'm afraid tomorrow will be too chaotic, or I don't know,
mm,
tell me what feels most true to you about, and if the word afraid is too strong, it may be
mhm,
worried.
yeah. Yeah, I think it's like a worry, it's like a anxiety. I guess like I just there's been times where I felt like it I reach like a breaking point where there's just too much going on, and I'm always trying to, I think, avoid that state. So trying to mitigate it by doing as much productive things as I can, hoping that I can get to a place where I feel actually good and able to relax. I think part of it is finding time, like escaping me a lot. And I don't know, like always feeling like I should be doing more or like a better job at the things I'm doing, like even if it's something really mundane.
Why does that matter? Why is that important to you?
I don't know. I don't know. It's so strange. I feel like it's like I'm not like I don't know. It's not even like a lot of an outward perception. Like it's definitely feels like I am that way. Like I'm comparing myself to others and who seem to have their shit together more than I do and somehow managing it better than I am. But it is definitely enforced by myself. I feel like I have a lot of, I don't know. I do worry. I just worry a lot when it like piles on and whatnot that I'm not gonna be able to like dig myself out, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's, I'm worried that I won't get everything done.
Yeah, I think that feels fair.
And why does it matter to get everything done?
Yeah, that's a good
And you
question.
might want to answer, so I can feel what?
Yeah, okay, that makes more sense. To me, it matters to get everything done so I can feel peace, like, so I can feel satisfied. Again, like that feeling of earning that emotion, like that rest. But I think it is like the calm, like I'm chasing like a sense of calm.
Okay. Isn't that ironic?
Yeah, it is very, as I'm saying it out loud, it's very funny to me.
Yes. Good. We got two place. Again, that North Star now for you is
Yeah.
okay. So calm, peace, satisfied. And
Mm.
so the way your default action is to do a bunch of stuff, to do a lot of productive stuff.
Yeah.
But is it helping you achieve calm, peace, satisfaction?
I would
Sometimes
say
and
no.
sometimes not.
Yeah,
Sometimes,
I would
yeah.
say, yeah, there is something satisfying about getting like a big task done, but a lot of like me is trying to do 10 things and not getting either one, any of them very done. And that's not getting me to a place of calm
Right.
at all.
Because what you're doing are like short-term actions or short-term
Yeah.
fixes here. And
Hmm.
sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. Or
Yeah.
they work in the moment and that's about it. So this
Yeah.
is when I would, and you can do this in the moment too. All right, I'm having this urge, feeling, whatever. Why am I
Yeah.
having it? Why is this important to me? What do I actually want to feel here? Again, back to the in the interactions at work, what do I
Yeah.
desire here? Find your North Star, calm, peace, satisfied. And then with as much intentionality as you can, ask yourself, what can I do in this moment or today or when is next possible to engender these feelings? What will get me closest to feelings of calm, peace, satisfaction? And then you may decide, yes, it is cleaning. I am going to feel incredibly satisfied when I do that.
Hmm.
However, I am going to put a time limit on it, okay?
Yeah.
Because it does not hit my bucket of calm and peace. It's
Yeah.
just my satisfied bucket. Okay. Calm
Yeah.
and peace. What action could I take for calm? Is there a different action for peace? And again, always breaking it down to its smallest components so you
Yeah.
actually do it. And again, you may decide to continue taking the same actions you always have, but at least you won't feel like you're running on autopilot.
Yeah.
You did stop and say, is this going to lead to what's important to me?
Yeah.
And then again, knowing when you're trying something new, it's going to feel unfamiliar, and unfamiliar can feel scary or
Mhm.
we resist it.
Yeah.
Hey, I like to think of ourselves as athletes, actually, or marathon runners. And you would think as an athlete, you'd be obsessed with winning, right? Or your time, the outcome, as you said.
Yeah.
And that is true. That is important. You want to keep the eye on the prize, whatever the prize is for you. It's going to be maybe a relationship, your paycheck, safety net,
Hmm.
all those things. However, where do athletes spend a lot of their time? It's actually in the gym,
Hmm.
conditioning their bodies to be able to achieve those outcomes. So for you, what are the muscles that you want to develop that will allow you to achieve those outcomes more effortlessly? Like people don't just become athletes. You do have to be born with innate talent, which
Hmm.
means there is an ease to it. Somebody shooting a basket and getting it who's super tall, they're going to have an easier time than me trying to shoot a basket.
Yeah.
So there is actually both ease and effort that we're working with here, which is a contradictory thing and very interesting to hold in both hands, but that's what we're
Yeah.
training to do here as we talked about today's session. And so I just in our closing minutes here, if you're thinking of yourself now as this marathon runner or as this athlete, again, somebody who cares about outcome, but in the day to day, you're more focused on what muscles do I need to develop that will put me into the best possible shape here.
Yeah.
Do you think if you remembered that in the moments of should I rest, write, or clean, would you choose differently if you viewed it that way?
Yeah, I think so. Like in terms of taking steps towards it. It's interesting in my head thinking of like writing, for example, as like indulgent because I know it's something that on the other side of it, like I'll feel better, like for having done it. Like I'll feel like I have like typically like more energy and things like that, which is good because then I have more, I would think like motivation to do other things, whether it is like cleaning or spending time with people or something like that. So yeah, I think that totally resonates for me.
It's just investing in something long term.
Yeah.
So there is definitely still more work to be done on why is it not okay to just receive? Like it just feels good. It's
Yeah.
urgent, and I come first, oxygen mask on me.
Yeah.
We are not conditioned as women to be like that at all. We are
Yeah.
to
Hmm.
accommodate others, to serve others. We were
Hmm.
secondary to men. So you are undoing massive amounts of history here, which is
Yeah.
why I like this practice of sending compassion to the person who gave this to you. And then next step
Mhm.
from there, even compassion who gave it to them. And I think it's going to be many years before it perhaps feels innate to just
Yeah.
receive. I'm definitely in the thick of it myself.
Mhm.
And knowing that practicing receiving will help you actually make more. So even if in this moment it feels indulgent, oh, like
Yeah.
writing or resting, to your point, you're reinvigorating yourself to come back to work and be better at work.
Mhm.
Same thing with practicing receiving, being indulgent to yourself is going to actually allow you to get a raise,
Yeah.
more oriented towards, hey, I have the capacity to actually say yes to this money. So it's all interconnected, and just keep staying focused on, am I doing the conditioning? Am I increasing my muscle mass here? My capacity for discomfort, et cetera, et cetera. All these things will serve you well. That will ultimately lead to the outcomes that you
Mhm.
want. The outcomes, I look at them a little bit like the icing on the cake, and here
Yeah.
we're just baking the cake. On that note, this was a much longer session than I anticipated, but silly me because you wrote in with so many good, fun goodies for me to dig into. Any thoughts, questions, feelings that are coming up for you in our final minutes?
No, I mean, this was so helpful. I just really appreciate it. It's just really interesting, like talking through all these different goals and stuff. And like you were saying, there is like an emotional attachment to a lot of what feels like very work corporate problems. But there's a lot of learning that I'm doing, and it's just a very exciting time. So I just
Yes.
really appreciate it.
Yeah, and one way to not feel so overwhelmed by what happens next is just
Yeah.
ask yourself, what is this week's focus?
Yeah.
So if you want to focus on patching up the leaky boat,
Yes.
okay, great. Then maybe
Yeah.
next week's focus is how do I be more valued at work?
Hmm.
Spend some time on Sunday journaling ideal scenarios for yourself
Yeah.
and small ways that you can take command over that and then letting go what you can't. And that's your only focus for that week. Next week, all about receiving, even just as you walk down the street thinking, receiving, what
Yeah.
does receiving feel like? And
Hmm.
then starting to notice all the ways in which you maybe are or are not receiving. If somebody compliments you and you immediately compliment them back, for example, that's your only focus for that week. So, since you
Yeah.
mentioned that growing is important to you, make a life curriculum for yourself
Hmm.
and do not get overwhelmed. Not don't do too much.
Yeah.
Smaller is better. So,
Yeah.
also the Substack will be helpful in all of that. And I'm glad that we had a chance to keep talking and I could mention when there's so many things you could and should be doing, where do you begin? And it's just whatever is going to be the domino effect. If you work on this, it will make other things easier for you. Or if it's the thing that you're carrying and it's heaviest, start there and really don't try to do anything else for at least 7 days. That's my last piece of advice there. I so appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. And I'll see
Thank
you on the
you.
Substack.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, guys, that's a wrap on today's session. If you want the full breakdown, the exercises, the frameworks, the exact questions to ask yourself, head on over to my Substack. I put together a companion post to this episode so you can actually use what you just heard. The link is at the show notes below. Go there, do the work. You deserve it. I'll see you next time.